As a result of breaking into my car in the parking lot and breaking my face, I don't owe anyone anything. In the spotlight of the hit reality TV show Pawn Stars, Rick Harrison, the man behind America's most famous pawn shop, has become a symbol of success, intelligence, and sharp business sense. But, behind his confident smile and calm demeanor, lies a life full of tragedies and dark secrets that no one could ever imagine. These are the stories of Rick Harrison, a man admired by millions. Are they really just a perfect portrait of strength and triumph, or do they hide shocking truths that leave people speechless when they are found? Watch today's video to find out. The untold depths of Rick Harrison's life. 1. Rick Harrison's troubled childhood. Rick Harrison's life was full of tragedy and problems from a very young age, long before he became famous and had success later in his career. Rick went through a series of he had a lot of terrible losses and problems that made him the guy he is today. The Harrison family's first terrible event happened when Rick was just a child. He was born on March 22, 1965, and was the third child of Richard Benjamin Harrison and Joanne Rue Harrison. Rick's father was a U.S. Navy veteran who had served his country with great honor and struggled to provide a stable life for the family after his service. The Harrison family had 4 children, but Rick's oldest sister Sherry died at the age of 6 due to Rick's family lost a loved one to complications related to Down syndrome. This was the start of a series of problems that Rick would face throughout his life. When Rick was 8, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, which kept him in bed most of the time. This time of confinement changed him forever. Instead of complaining about his situation, he spent his days reading, becoming deeply interested in history and physics, especially stories about the Royal Navy. In the 18th and 19th centuries, one of his favorite books was the Great Brain series by John D. Fitzgerald. It not only made him feel better, but it also motivated him to improve his logical thinking and negotiation skills, which would later define his success as a businessman. Despite his intellectual pursuits, Rick's family life was anything but stable. When he was only 2 years old, his family moved to San Diego, California, because his father was transferred to the Navy and tried to start a real estate business there. The family had to move to Las Vegas, Nevada in 1981 because of money problems. This move would be a turning point in Rick's life, bringing him closer to his goal of becoming an entrepreneur, while also bringing him new challenges. As a teenager, Rick showed amazing independence and strength. He dropped out of school in the 10th grade to make money and started selling fake Gucci handbags, making an impressive $2,000 a week, which was a lot of money for someone his age. But his life grew even more when Rick's girlfriend Kim got pregnant. When they were both only 17, things got more complicated. Even though they were young and had no money, Rick took on the responsibility of fatherhood. Sadly, their first child died due to a miscarriage. This loss left an indelible mark on Rick's soul, but it also made him determined to face life's challenges head-on and build the inner strength needed to overcome them. His troubled childhood shows that he can rise above problems and turn them into chances for growth and success. 2. Rick Harrison's life took a big turn when his family moved to Las Vegas in 1981. At the time, the Harrison family was having a hard time financially after a failed real estate deal in California. But it was in this city, Nevada, that Rick and his father Richard Benjamin Harrison started their career path. A path that not only changed their lives, but also left an indelible mark on the pawn industry in America. At first, Rick's father opened a small shop on Las Vegas Boulevard South that dealt in gold and silver. The shop, which was only 300 feet, 28 square meters in size, was the place where Rick developed his business skills, and a deep passion for Rick quickly became an important part of the business. His ability to give valuable historical information about items not only increased the shop's transaction value, but also built trust and loyalty among its customers. The early days were not easy though. The shop had to deal with many problems, such as getting customers and making enough money to stay open. To make ends meet, Rick got a job at night repossessing cars for banks. It was a hard and tiring time for him, but after 5 years of hard work, the Harrison family was able to move their shop to a bigger spot on Fremont Street. Unfortunately, their success didn't last long, as they lost their lease after only 2 years, forcing them to move again. In 1989, Rick and his father finally got a pawn license, which was a big step forward in their careers, and something they had been hoping for a long time. Before that, Las Vegas laws had limited the number of pawn licenses that could be issued based on when the city's population reached 250,000. Rick and his father jumped at the chance to get a license. This was the start of their business becoming Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, which is now a full-fledged pawn shop. The shop is located at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South, just off the famous Las Vegas Strip. At first, the shop specialized in rare sports memorabilia and historical artifacts. Over time though, jewelry became the store's best-sellered item. Along with his father, he built a strong reputation in the community and started attracting tourists with their collection of rare items and the interesting stories behind them. By 2005, the shop had achieved amazing success, lending millions of dollars a year and earning hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. However, the shop's biggest success didn't come from its business operations. It came from becoming the center of the reality TV show, Pawn Stars. The idea for the show came about in 2008, when producers Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines of Left Field Pictures went to Las Vegas and saw the potential in the city's unique pawn shops. They were especially interested in gold and silver pawn shop, both as a place to do business and as a stage for the compelling stories of the Harrison family. Rick, who had been on TV before in a 2003 episode of Insomniac with Davil, quickly saw how valuable it would be to make his shop a TV star. Although HBO turned down the original idea for the show, it was later reworked into a family-friendly format. History Channel agreed to produce it. The show was first called Pawning History, but it was later renamed Pawn Stars, which is a funny play on the words porn stars. It premiered in July 2009 and quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Viewers were captivated not only by the show's rare and unique items, but also by the interactions between the Harrison family and their staff. Rick, the show's central character, won over viewers with his vast knowledge and sharp, funny bargaining style. Pawn Stars made gold and silver pawn shop famous around the world. The store became a major tourist attraction, drawing thousands of visitors every year. By 2011, Pawn Stars was the most-watched show on the History Channel and the second most popular reality TV show in the US, trailing only Jersey Shore. That same year, Rick published his memoir, License to Pawn Deals Steals. It got to number 22 on the New York Times bestseller list. The early years of Pawn Stars were a golden time for Rick Harrison and his family, but along with the glow of success, Rick started facing personal and familial problems. These were the first signs of the tragedies that would later test not only his business sense, but also his strength as a person. 3 personal and familial problems. After having huge success with his career and the hit show Pawn Stars, Rick Harrison seemed to have it all. Rick Harrison was a successful businessman and a strong, confident reality TV star, but behind the cameras and laughs he had to deal with hard personal problems, complicated family problems and irreplaceable losses. One of the less well-known parts of his life is the instability of his marriages, and the deep emotional scars they left him with. Rick was married 3 times, but all of them ended in divorce. These failed relationships had a big effect on his emotions, and on his life and career as a whole. Rick's first marriage to Kim, his teenage girlfriend, started in 1982, when they were both still very young. Rick was only 17 years old and trying to start over in life. Their relationship started out badly, and tragedy struck early when they lost their first child to a miscarriage. Rick was having a hard time with money while grieving the death of his child. Despite their heartbreak, Rick and Kim tried to move on and start a family. They had 2 sons, Corey Harrison, 1983, and Adam Harrison, 1984. Corey would later become Rick's trusted business partner in the gold and silver pawn shop and a key figure on Pawn Stars, while Adam chose a quieter, less public path in life. However, keeping a stable family life proved difficult because of money problems. Raising kids put a lot of stress on Rick and Kim's relationship. At the time, Rick worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, from selling fake goods to repossessing cars for banks at night. This constant stress and exhaustion hurt his business and made Rick and Kim grow apart in their marriage. Eventually they got divorced in 1985, leaving Rick, then 20, to raise their 2 sons by himself. Soon after his first divorce, Rick started dating someone else. He got married to Tracy, whom he called a reliable woman who stood by me through the toughest times of my life. They got married in 1986, when Rick and his father were just starting to open the gold and silver pawn shop. Tracy became Rick's wife and also his stepmother, helping him raise Corey and Adam. This marriage lasted much longer than Rick's first, but it wasn't always easy. During their more than 20 years together, Rick and Tracy went through many storms. From the difficulties of building to the huge success of Pawn Stars, Rick's growing career put unseen strains on his family. The long hours he spent working and filming eventually caused a rift between him and Tracy. In 2011, after 25 years of marriage, Rick and Tracy decided to get a divorce. This was a very hard time for Rick, because the breakup happened at the height of his Pawn Star fame. Rick later admitted that the divorce left him feeling empty and directionless, though he tried to keep a good relationship with Tracy. For the sake of their children after his second divorce, Rick looked for happiness again and started dating Deanna Bitt, a woman who had also been through 2 previous marriages. Rick and Deanna got married in 2013 in a fancy ceremony in Laguna Beach, California, that was attended by over 200 people, including celebrities like Danny Coker from Counting Cars. With Deanna, Rick not only found love, but he also became the stepfather to her 3 daughters. Rick often talked about how happy he was to be a part of Deanna's family. The marriage didn't give Rick the balance he had been looking for though. After 7 years together, Rick and Deanna got a divorce in 2020, saying they couldn't get along because they had different interests and ways of living. Despite this, Rick stayed close with Deanna's daughters, seeing them as family and continuing to support them in their lives. He also refused to give up on love, getting married to Amanda Palmer in 2021. Amanda was young and full of life, even though not much is known about their relationship. Rick has said that Amanda has been his biggest source of support in recent years, especially as he dealt with the deaths of his father and son. Rick's personal problems went beyond his marriages and into his relationships with family. One of the hardest losses he had to deal with was the death of his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, who was affectionately known as the Old Man. Richard, the man on Pawn Stars, died in June 2018 after a long battle with Parkinson's disease. His death left a huge hole in Rick's life, because his father was not only a loved family member, but also a trusted mentor and business partner. Rick said that his father's death was a monumental blow to him both personally and professionally. The Old Man was a beloved figure in the pawn shop and on the show, sharing wisdom and humor that spoke to people all over the world. Losing his father was like losing a friend. Rick's mother, Joanne Harrison, sued him in 2022, saying that he took advantage of her illness in the early 2000s to get her to give him 51% of the pawn shop. She also said that Rick had stopped giving her a monthly allowance of $25,000 from the estate of her late husband. In the lawsuit, Joanne demanded a clear financial report and the money she thought she had been wrongfully taken away. The legal battle between Rick and his mother drew a lot of attention from the public. Rick was admired for being a devoted family man, so these serious accusations put him in an awkward position. He strongly denied the claims, saying they were false and suggesting that his mother was being influenced by outside forces. Rick said he had always tried to care for and talk to his mother, but there was more than just a legal dispute going on. It was a deeply painful emotional conflict with someone he used to care about. Even though he tried to stay strong, these problems left undeniable scars on Rick Harrison's life. From personal losses to family disputes, Rick has had to deal with a lot of pressure in both his professional and personal life. However, these problems also show how strong Rick is and how he can rise above problems. He is not just a successful businessman. As a businessman or TV star, he has faced life's hardest challenges and continues to move forward with unwavering determination. For Rick Harrison, the worst tragedy was losing a son. No pain could compare to the devastation of losing a child. This was the worst tragedy he had to face, leaving an unfillable void in his heart as a father. In January 2024, Rick got the heartbreaking news that his second son Adam Harrison had died at the age of 39 from a drug overdose. Fentanyl and methamphetamine. Adam's death was ruled an accident on January 19, 2024, when police and medical staff in Clark County, Nevada, found him unresponsive after a worried friend said he hadn't been seen or heard from since January 17, 2024. An autopsy report later showed that Adam had died of an overdose of fentanyl and methamphetamine too. The Harrison family, especially Rick, was filled with unimaginable grief and loss. Rick Harrison, who was known for his positive smile and calm demeanor on Pawn Stars, couldn't hide his sadness. He shared the heartbreaking news on Instagram by posting a picture of himself and Adam at a restaurant, with the caption, "You will always be in my heart, I love you, Adam." The simple but deeply emotional message, along with a broken heart emoji, said it all. Fans and followers from all over the world immediately responded to the post with condolences, hoping to bring some comfort to Rick and his family during this sad time. Adam's older brother Corey Harrison, Rick's eldest son and close business partner, also shared his grief. Corey posted a picture of himself and Adam as kids on Instagram with the caption, "I will always love you, Bubba." The short but heartfelt message moved many people to tears, as show fans understood the family's pain. Adam didn't show up on Pawn Stars very often, but he did work at the gold and silver pawn shop before becoming a plumber, a job he loved and was very dedicated to. Adam's death was both a personal loss and a stark reminder of how bad the foreclosure crisis is in the United States. In a public statement, Rick Harrison said that the crisis needs to be taken more seriously, not just as a grieving father, but also as a socially aware citizen. Adam's death made Rick think deeply about the meaning of life and how to move on after such a terrible loss. Despite the devastating blow, Rick has tried to stay strong, finding comfort in the support of his family and close friends. Corey and Rick's longtime friend and Pawn Stars co-star Austin "Chumlee" Russell have been there for him. Rick has said that the pain of losing a child will never go away. He has memories of Adam from when he was a child to when he was an adult that will always be a part of his life. He often talks about Adam with pride, but now those stories are always tinged with sadness. Losing a child is a pain that no parent should ever have to go through. For Rick Harrison, this tragedy is not only a personal one but also a calling. Despite his grief, Rick continues to work and add to his family's legacy, trying to honor Adam's memory while spreading messages of hope, love, and unity. Even though he is heavy with grief, Rick has chosen to keep going because he knows that is what Adam and all of his loved ones would want him to do. 5. The challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic not only caused a global health crisis but also severe economic problems. Millions of people were affected, and the pawn industry, which is usually thought to be strong in bad times, was no different for Rick Harrison and his Aya Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. The pandemic caused problems that had never been seen before, and in early 2020, one of America's most famous pawn shops was in danger of closing because of the epidemic as the pandemic spread. Las Vegas, a city that depends a lot on tourism and entertainment, was one of the hardest hit. With lockdowns and travel limits, the number of tourists dropped by a huge amount. Local businesses, like the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, which is famous for being on the TV show Pawn Stars, and is also a place where people go to do business, and as a tourist attraction, saw a big drop in foot traffic. In an interview with Fox News, Rick said that the pandemic had completely changed the way the pawn industry makes money. He said that normally, pawn shops do very well when the economy is bad and people need cash quickly. Travel restrictions and fears of face-to-face interactions made people less likely to visit pawn shops. Also, government-issued financial aid like stimulus checks and unemployment benefits decreased the immediate need for short-term loans that pawn shops like Gold and Silver usually offer. Things got worse in March 2020 when Rick had to shut down most of the shop's operations because of a rise in COVID-19 cases in Nevada. The tourist section of the store, the pawn shop, which had unique items and drew in international customers, was closed for 30 days. This had a terrible effect on revenue, but Rick and his team worked hard to keep the business going. They kept up core operations through a 247-night window, buying and selling items and giving short-term loans to people who were having trouble paying their bills. Rick showed compassion and a sense of duty toward the Las Vegas community by lowering the shop's recognizing dollars, the most recognizing dollars in the country. Rick told a local news outlet in April 2020, "We've lowered interest rates and given people more time to reclaim their items. I know Las Vegas has given me so much, and now it's my turn to give back." Despite Rick's optimism and hope for an economic recovery within 6 months, the reality was much harsher. The prolonged pandemic caused Gold and Silver Pawn Shop to lose a lot of money. According to a report from Daily Mail, the shop only made $37,000 in 2020, a huge drop from the over $1 million it made each year before the pandemic. This was a huge financial setback for Rick and his team, who had spent decades building the store's reputation. On top of the financial problems, Rick also went through a personal upheaval during the pandemic. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, his third marriage to Deanna Barrett ended in divorce in 2020. The divorce was friendly, but it added to Rick's emotional load as he dealt with the stress of both jobs during the pandemic. However, Rick refused to give up. He and his team quickly adjusted to the new situation, focusing on keeping the business going and coming up with creative ways to get through it. Rick also used this time to reconnect with his family and think about what was most important in life. He often shared meaningful moments with his family. In spite of the problems, he found comfort and strength in his family, especially his grandchildren and son Corey on social media. Looking back, the COVID-19 pandemic was not only a business challenge for Rick Harrison, but also a profound life lesson. It showed him how fragile success is, and how important it is to be flexible and resilient in the face of unplanned crises. Even though he lost a lot of money, Rick proved that he was not only a skilled businessman, but also someone who could face adversity with determination. 5 years of tragedy, hardship, success, and present-day life. Rick Harrison has stayed a prominent figure in the pawn industry and the entertainment world, even though he doesn't work full-time at the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. He has focused his career on new projects while enjoying family life and looking for balance. His success is measured not only by his financial numbers, but also by his ability to keep giving back to his community and get through hard times. Rick's career took a big turn when he joined the cast of the spin-off show Pawn Stars Do America, which expanded on the original Pawn Stars show and debuted in 2022. Unlike the original show, which only showed the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, this show quickly caught viewers' attention because it took Rick Harrison and Austin "Chumlee" Russell all over the United States, where they met collectors, found unique items, and learned the interesting historical stories behind these treasures. This was not only a way for Rick to refresh his brand and connect with an even wider audience. Even though Rick doesn't run the shop anymore, he is still the face and spirit of the gold and silver pawn shop. The store continues to do well under Corey Harrison's management and a team of longtime employees who uphold the high standards of service and reputation that the Harrison family has built up over more than 30 years. The shop still gets thousands of visitors every year, mostly Pawn Stars fans who come to see the show, not only to buy and sell things, but also to enjoy the historic feel of the store. Outside of work, Rick has spent more time with his family and personal life since his divorce from Deanna Bird. He is now happily married to Amanda Palmer, his fourth wife, and has said that he hopes this marriage will bring him the stability and peace he has been looking for. Amanda has become a big support system for Rick and has helped him get along better with other family members. Rick loves spending time with his grandchildren, who bring him joy and a sense of youth. On social media, Rick often posts heartwarming pictures of family outings and everyday moments, giving fans a glimpse into a softer, more personal side of him. These pictures show how deeply committed he is to his family, despite all the problems he has faced. In addition to his business and TV ventures, Rick is also involved in politics and social issues. In 2020, he publicly backed Donald Trump in the presidential election, and Daniel Rodriguez in his run for Congress in Nevada. Rick has even hinted at the possibility of running for office himself, thinking about a run for governor of Nevada or U.S. senator. While no official decisions have been made, Rick has said that he is still open to the idea because he wants to make a bigger difference in his community and society. In 2023, Rick was given the title of Kentucky Colonel, which is the highest honor in the military. Rick was given the highest honor the governor of Kentucky can bestow. The award recognized his work in promoting history and culture and connecting people with the stories behind valuable antiques. The ceremony at Locust Grove was an emotional moment for Rick, who expressed his gratitude for the honor. Even though Rick is past the peak of his career, he shows no signs of fatigue or complacency. He continues to work not because he needs money or fame, but because he loves what he does. Rick once said, "I don't work for the money, I work because I love it. I love the thrill of discovering and learning from antiques and the people I meet." Looking back, Rick Harrison is more than just a successful businessman or reality TV star. He is a living example of how to deal with hardship and find light even in the darkest times. Rick's life story is inspiring not only because of what he has done, but also because of who he is and what he has been through. As a result of the bravery and strength with which he has dealt with problems, losses, and hardships, Rick Harrison now lives a semi-retired life, focusing on family, personal projects, and the Pawn Stars Do America series. He may not be at the shop as often, but his name will always be linked to the gold and silver pawn shop in the Pawn Stars franchise, making him an iconic figure in the pawn industry and reality TV. Pawn shop business and reality TV, Rick has stayed strong through terrible tragedies and huge problems, inspiring others in the process. His life is an example of unwavering passion and determination. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to make sure you don't miss any more exciting stories.